They were going to move manufacturing jobs from Syracuse, its hometown, to Singapore and China. It was infuriating. It was devastating. It has stuck with me for 20 years. But I knew then what I know now. This community is innovative, it is tough, it is resilient. And if we could just level the playing fields, Syracuse could go toe-to-toe, not just with Silicon Valley and Austin and Boston, but with Shanghai and Beijing in being a global hub for innovation and manufacturing. That's exactly what the CHIPS and Science Bill was all about, giving upstate New York and places around it, all around the country, a rebirth in tech economy. That's why almost 3 years ago, I proposed a, quote, moonshot to invest in cutting-edge tech, like semiconductors, so we could outcompete China. That became my Endless Frontier Act. And then I spent the last 3 years working to pass it into law, ultimately manifesting itself in the CHIPS and Science Act. And I want to thank my colleague, but this was a bipartisan bill, Todd Young of Indiana, for his partnership in getting this done. It was bipartisan. And each of us had a vision that we wanted new places to benefit from high-end manufacturing and research.
Biden has also extended the crisis-related payment pause several times. And the administration's approach to canceling student debt fails to satisfy many other Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, who has been calling on President Biden to cancel up to $50,000 for each $43 million borrower of student loans. Folks, there's a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check and Social Security benefits that you have to know. $200 stimulus relief checks have actually been passed to help many Americans across the country. Congress has approved $4 billion for a fourth stimulus package. And with gas prices setting everyday record highs, a group of lawmakers in many states want to give residents some relief at the pump. A group of North Carolina state senators are proposing giving every licensed adult in North Carolina a one-time payment of $200 to apply towards rising gas prices. To qualify, the person must be a licensed driver in North Carolina and be at least 18 years as of March 31st. The national average price of gas reached actually $4.71 as of Thursday, and the North Carolina measure would be funded by spending $1.3 billion of the roughly $4.2 billion in surplus collected by the state. The state senator, one of the bill's co-sponsors, told reporters, "Our proposal provides to every North Carolina driver a $200 gas tax rebate, what the average person in North Carolina would pay in state gas tax from July to December. The approach keeps the highway fund and the highway trust fund whole, while still collecting revenue from non-residents. If passed, the bill would become effective July 1st and rebates would be sent by October 1st, so this is really good news. One proposal from a group of congressional Democrats provide an energy rebate of $100 direct payments to qualifying Americans. Representatives Mike Thompson, John Larson, and Lauren Underwood introduced the Gas Rebate Act of 2022, providing $100 per month for adults and $100 for each dependent for the rest of 2022 for any month where the national average gas price exceeds $4 a gallon. The plan is modeled after previous stimulus checks designed to jumpstart the economy amid the crisis. The first stimulus payment of $1,200 per person was made in March 2020, followed by $600 in December 2020 and $1,400 in March 2021. Like the earlier stimulus payments, the gas money would be sent to single filers earning less than $75,000 per year before phasing out for those making $80,000 or more. Joint filers earning less than $150,000 will receive the payments, phasing out at $160,000. But the bill does not include information on how that payments will be funded. Other proposals, however, would put the cost of a gas rebate on large oil companies. Democratic Representative Khanna and Sheldon Whitehouse are proposing a big oil windfall profits tax. This tax would charge a per barrel tax equal to the 50% of the difference between the current price of a barrel of oil and its pre-crisis average price between 2015 and 2019. The U.S. consumer confidence edged lower in May as Americans' view of their present and future prospects dimmed in the midst of a persistent inflation. The Conference Board said this week that its consumer confidence index dipped to 106% in May. Prices are rising for just about everything, forcing millions of people to make difficult choices. So folks, do you think that President Biden can do something about this? Tell me in the comments.
Senator Kramer.
Thank you, Senator Cardin. Thank you, Mr. Goffman, for being here. And I'm going to try to avoid asking you a question that would require you to abstain based on the Supreme Court situation, which I think is prudent of you. So I'm going to avoid that. But I do want to still explore a little bit that experience, because it is one of the I think the biggest concern most North Dakotans have is that the same group that promoted the Clean Power Plan are back. And in the middle of that, there's a stay of that Clean Power Plan, and of course, the case that you discussed earlier with Senator Capito. But would you say that the utilities and the public utility commissioners supported the Clean Power Plan because it provided some certainty? Because we hear a lot about certainty. Was that an argument at the time? Do you recall?
I remember discussions at the time about the Clean Power Plan, and Senator, we went far out of our way to really engage with a lot of key players, including the utility regulators.
So I was one at the time.
Sorry?
I was a state utility regulator at the time, and there was some engagement. And one of the concerns, at least in North Dakota, and one of the concerns we have, frankly, going forward, is that you might recall that the proposed rule said that North Dakota could, reduce emissions by 11%. And because of that proposed rule and that low number, the principle of not having authority over in 111D and inside the fence line, all the things that Senator Capito talked about, they were willing to sort of waive that principle, accept it, even though they didn't believe it was legal. Because 11% was doable, and we'll all work with you to get that done. And then, of course, as you know, the final rule was 45%, which resulted in an arbitrary and capricious successful argument.
There are some proposed changes to the next fourth stimulus package that Congress is debating right now. Economists and lawmakers have said this change might financially impact millions of people. The cost of gas is surging across the U.S., but drivers should not expect any action taken by the president. The White House is staring down a global energy crunch caused by domestic supply chains and energy commodities. Gas prices have blown past record after record in recent weeks. According to new data, the average gallon of gas in the United States hit around $4.06. Experts have told reporters that the United States has been experiencing high gas prices even before this year. After the scramble to bring down prices ahead of the midterm elections, the White House has reached out to the oil industry to inquire about reopening shuttered refineries. Experts say there is a small chance of that happening, and the Family Security Act proposed by Mitt Romney aims to cut child poverty by a third by providing most parents with monthly payments of $350 for each child under 6. It is similar to the temporary monthly payments to working families under the American Rescue. While Romney's proposal is similar to the previous program in that it will offer monthly payments to most parents, it will replace the earned income tax credit that low and middle income working parents receive.
Years and years and years. So thank you for that, and to everyone here. So as many of you know, I am a daughter of California. And as a result, many things have probably flowed from that, pardon the pun, but one of them has been, I have been my entire life acutely aware of the reality of water scarcity. I remember I was, I think 12 in middle school, about that age, 13, when we experienced an
increase the base funding schools receive by $5 billion for the upcoming year and by $10 billion in 2024 through 2025. Nearly $5 billion will be directed to universities and community colleges for deferred facilities maintenance and expansion of student housing. Another $1 billion will be earmarked for preschool programs, everybody. So, do you think that President Biden is doing all that it takes to send out the fourth stimulus check? And if you found this video useful, then tell me in the comments down below. SNAP monthly benefits, everybody, are going to be changing in a big way for millions of you guys. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer have actually agreed on a new timeline for the new social spending bill. You want to watch to the end of the video to find out how to receive the fourth stimulus check. Without further ado, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer met to discuss the possible legislation on reduced gasoline prices. Leaders are hoping to pass legislation dealing with gas prices before the end of May, but would actually need Republican cooperation in the Senate to do so. The GOP is pushing for expanded fossil fuel production domestically, something progressive Democrats may be unable to support, and rising prices are a top concern for many voters, and many Democrats already face a tough road to holding on to
places like Syracuse and for him, Indianapolis. Now, all of these major microchip companies are considering investing in the U.S. because of these federal incentives. Without the effort we've led, none of this would have been happening. Without the CHIPS and Science Bill, some politician in France or Germany or China, and not us, would be announcing to the world that they had secured a new mammoth chip fab for their nation and the economy. Look, as you all knew, congressional negotiations were all but dead over the summer. But the stakes were too high for the country and for New York to let the bill fail. So with